And as Enabel, the Belgian Development Agency, we want to tap into those ecosystems, whether it is Uganda, Senegal, or Morocco. I think it's quite interesting for us to use digitalization as a leverage, whether it is in health or agriculture or education. And every ecosystem is quite unique. I've been working in Kenya, in Zambia, and now in Uganda. And it's really, really interesting what is happening here. And as soon as I arrived, I visited the local hubs. I got a taste of the scenery. And when the first Kampala Innovation Week started, I just made sure that as Enabel, we need to be there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Bart. So yes, last week, even before we delve into launching this particular hackathon, I know that last week there was another hackathon launched by Enabel as well. I don't know whether you can speak a little bit to that, and then we'll get right into the health element.
Yes, indeed, we launched another hackathon last week, but only for the 7 vocational training institutes where we work. So it was not open for the whole public. So we launched the hackathon for lecturers, instructors to create digital lessons. As you know very well, COVID has completely changed the way that we think about digitalization. And especially since the second lockdown, we have organized communities of practice for lecturers to discover digital tools, how to create a digital lesson using Zoom, WhatsApp, how to make a podcast or a screencast or a video. And it works really, really well. And now, let's say the VTIs have opened, but like the government wants us to go into hybrid education. So it's really how to use digital tools for vocational training. And we will award the instructors at the closing ceremony on the 26th.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, Mr. Mbaka, I know there's quite a bit of work that the Ministry of Health is currently doing with Enabel, especially within the sector of health. I don't know whether you can speak a little bit to those linkages, and then we shall get into the problem statement for today.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, Enabel is one of those partners that support the Ministry of Health. And they have a very interesting support model because they're embedded within the Ministry of Health. They do not support externally. Of course, they support in multiple areas, largely around what we call health system strengthening. So the health system strengthening really, it's slightly different from clinical health, basically what you experience when you go to the doctor, but there are those aspects that make those processes possible. So that's where really Enabel supports, particularly around my area of work. In the division of health information, we are responsible for both the implementation and coordination of the digital health strategy of the Ministry of Health, as well as the data, the strategies associated with data and analytics. You know that the government of Uganda, through its Vision 2040 and its National Development Plan, have really talked about innovation and taking advantage of ICTs to optimize service delivery. And in our efforts to really achieve that, we partnered with Enabel, among others, to support us where we struggle. Particularly for Enabel, we are doing capacity building for health workers. You know, some of our health workers joined the service before they had an opportunity to touch a computer. And adult training is not a very straight art. You need to do it very carefully. So Enabel is partnering with us to make sure that for us to be able to digitize, the health workers need capacity in ICT, and they're helping in that regard. But also, we're trying to improve our health management information system so that we are able to capture patient level data. Once you have patient level data, You have the benefit of referring patients. If a patient was receiving care, for example, for a chronic disease like TB in Moroto, when they move to Mbarara, the people in Moroto do not say the patient has disappeared, and the people in Mbarara don't say there's a new patient. They are able to retrieve the patient's history and continue with care, among other things. But there's also commodity accountability. Everyone is talking about medicines are disappearing and so on. But sometimes it's just because of documentation, or maybe there is actually malpractice. So it can, when you digitize health information, you are able to identify areas where you need capacity building, where you need to strengthen targeting and so on. And Enabel again has partnered with us in a few places in West Africa and West Nile, where we were trying to pilot what we call an electronic medical record system. And we continue to collaborate in that area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbaka. Maybe speaking a little bit, you've mentioned a couple of, I guess, projects and ideas that you're working on with Enabel and a couple of other partners. Do you have some general comments for like the current state of digitization and healthcare? How are we doing as a country? What are, maybe the different things that we may need to put a bit of more emphasis on? I think that's what events like Kampala Innovation Week are really supposed to be about.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think allow me to start by talking about the opportunity, not necessarily what we've done. Of course, if you had gone to a country where there is a significant wired phone network, when you introduce mobile phones, it becomes complicated to transition because of the investments you've already made. If you come to a country where there is no significant investment in an old technology, it's easy to jump onto the new boat. That is where Uganda finds itself. We've not invested significantly in digitization. So we can jump straight up to the very cutting edge of what is available. However, our environment is not exactly perfect. When you're in Kampala, you might have the illusion that phone data coverage is consistent. It is not. You might have the illusion that electricity supply is continuous and reliable. It is not. Most of our facilities have at best 12 hours of electricity every day, and sometimes those 12 hours are not even during the day when most patients come. In some of the villages where we work, you have no data coverage and so on. These are some of the challenges we experience. There's also just things that we never thought about, like security. You come and you decide to digitize a health facility, you deploy computers. After 2 days, all of them are gone. These are things that you have to pay attention to when you're making some of these leaps. The challenge that we have always had is that we pick technologies that work in other places and try to deploy them locally without paying attention to the context or the specific challenges that we're experiencing. Many times I like using this analogy of, when you're hungry and you're sitting on a pin and I offer you some food, you might not pay attention to the food because your most pressing need is the pin that you are sitting on. So it is important. There's so many problems that we have that could be saved by or resolved using these digital efforts. However, it is better to start from what our most pressing needs are. Because if you innovate and you have not solved my most pressing need, I will still pay attention to the most pressing need and ignore a possibly good innovation. What we have been lacking, and I hope my being here today with colleagues from the Innovation Village and Enabel is an opportunity for us to fix this problem. What we've been lacking is a platform where we engage on a continuous basis with innovators to tell them specifically what our priority problems are. So we've had a scenario where innovators, just by looking at the situation, this is not happening, they come up with an innovation, but sometimes it is an innovation that we have tried and it has failed to work, or some other, there could be some reason why they don't work, or it is a good innovation, but it is not the most pressing problem. So your attention is not specifically focused on giving it the platform it needs to grow. That said, we are, of course, following up on the instructions we've been given through the National Development Plan, and we would like to digitize significantly. And we would like to take this opportunity to really invite any innovators to figure, well, it is not you to figure out, but we need to figure out together how to link together. We can express what our problems are to you, and then you can tell us how you can help us solve them. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you very much, Mr. Mbaka. I think there's definitely a lot to pick from there, even for the innovators that are online and that are planning to participate in the hackathon. I think there's a lot to take home, just in terms of, innovations that might have been tried before, being context specific, and things like that. So yes, without further ado, I'm going to ask that my tech team just project the problem statement, the fly with the problem statement. We'll read it out, and then Bart, I think you will just dive into why that is the direction that we're going specifically.
Thank you. And then actually, I'm very happy with what Paul just said. I agree 100%. We can, by using technology, we can really leapfrog. We don't have to, go to the stages that maybe some Western countries have gone through. We can go to immediately to the mobile technologies, the latest applications. Of course, there are still challenges, but like what you said, Paul, even in Belgium, when I take the train from, let's say, Antwerp to Brussels, I don't have coverage. So don't think that it's in the West always that good in terms of some coverage or internet connectivity. But that does not mean we cannot use these digital applications to the best. And especially in our context here in Uganda, I think it has a lot of potential. Hence this hackathon. Like what you said, we have to co-create together. And this is the purpose of this hackathon. The problem statement is very broad, and I did it deliberately. How might we leverage technology to improve service delivery and patient satisfaction in the health sector? So maybe even Paul can actually come back to what he just said. What are the real problems that we need to solve? But as a problem statement for this hack una matata, it's not hakuna matata, but it's hack a problem. Hack una matata. Yes, hack matata. We want this to be as broad as possible. It can be, related to any specific problem within the health sector. But I think for Enabel, it is quite important that we can link it to our program, that we can see in the future, has this ID or this service or this application, can it be embedded in our projects? Maybe Paul can challenge.
Yes, yeah, sure. If there's, please go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure I'm sure most of you may have taken note. I did not say we have problems. I say we have opportunities. Yes. I want the innovators to look where the opportunities are. If we have no coverage, how can you innovate to fix this problem? If we have no grid coverage, how can you innovate to fix this problem? But the other thing that we need to pay attention to is that, and this is, of course, we have the problem of sometimes when we think about innovation, we only think about digital innovation. But I think we must pay attention to specifically about digital innovations is that every time we innovate for health, we develop a data entry solution. It is not actually something that is either improving access or improving coverage or easing burden of work. These are the things we should pay attention to because they have very significant relevance in acceptance of technology. If I go to a doctor who has been writing on paper and I provide an innovation to him, and when he uses paper, he can see 10 patients. And when he uses my digital solution, he can only see 5. Then he's not going to pay attention to what I am offering him. So if I provide a digital solution, it should make him see 15 patients in the same time, because some data was entered previously, you don't have to enter it again. I can pull out your medical history, you don't have to memorize it. So there are things that we should really take advantage of in that regard to really improve health service delivery. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, Innovators Online, I hope we are taking notes. The problem statement, okay, I think we saw that as it was on. But yes, looking at solutions to do with service delivery and patient satisfaction. There's an email on the flyers that have been shared. I'm sure that can also be shared on the group as well. Please, to submit, please send your submissions to ehahakunamatata@gmail.com. Those should also be coming online on the webinar via the chat option. Please take those down. We're looking forward to receiving all your submissions. Yes, so I think maybe just from Bart, really, as we wrap up, I don't know whether you can speak to how many possible winners we're hoping to get from this hackathon and what is in store for them, and what is, an incentive for me to submit. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, we will have, like with any hackathon, we will have some goodies. The participants can get some T-shirts, and it's a really nice T-shirt. Thank you for that. And but as I said before, for Enable, it will also depend on the quality of the submissions. We had in our mind like a top 3 best of selection, and let's say the prizes that we can further develop, incubate the ID or the application or the service that they have come up with. But most importantly is, can we embed it in our Enable projects? So the hackathon is funded or sponsored by our SDHR project, which is a support to development of human resources. And they have 24 partner organizations and the Ministry of Health and its beneficiaries are part of that project. So for us, I think it's very important that we can learn from it, that we can do something with it. Is it not now in our current portfolio? It can be for our future portfolio, which will be launched in 2023. Maybe a nice anecdote here. The first Kampala Innovation Week 2 years ago, we had a hackathon, of course, but there was an educational challenge there. And actually the winner of the educational challenge of the first Hakuna Matata was an academic management system. Now, we can happily say 2 years later, this idea has been fully incubated, has been built, and is implemented in all 5 national teacher training colleges. So this is the kind of results, the price, let's say, that I envisage, that we can really develop something that we can implement in our projects.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bart. I think really without further ado, unless we have some more comments from Mr. Mbaka, would you like to add anything just before we officially launch the hackathon? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I really have nothing to add, just to thank you for the opportunity, but also to just encourage the innovators, think openly, think creatively, and make a good pitch. Best of luck. Thank you.
Yes. So just in terms of a few more details, the hackathon is officially launching today. You'll be submitting to the email that should be provided in the chat. The winner will be announced at the closing ceremony of the Kampala Innovation Week, 26th of November, which should be in about 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to come up, with a proper pitch and share that. All the best to all the innovators in health. I think I will call upon Bart to just officially launch, and then we'll play a short video. And yeah, that will be the end.
I will say the same like Paul. I have nothing more to add than wish all the innovators the best of luck. Again, I think with digital technologies, we can really solve real problems, and that's the opportunity that we have in this case. So all the best. Send us an email to register, and then we will invite you to really pitch your project, and yeah, may the best win.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all the innovators online that have joined. We're really looking forward to your submissions. Thank you very much to Bart of Enabel, Paul from the Ministry of Health. Yes, it has, I think, been eventful, and we can't wait for the winners next week. Thank you very much.